check that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other?
Trying to say that
Do you want to debate, sir?
You've
Okay, let's debate.
The Islamic world never contributed anything positive, is what I'm hearing.
Right. So let me reply to that. Yeah. No, you are wrong. That isn't what I believe, and it isn't what I'm saying.
I've been here 3
minutes.
minutes.
Right, that's fine. That's fine. You weren't here earlier in the conversation. I fully understand, though, why you would say that, because the argument was I was trying to present that Christianity is better than Islam. I want to be clear. I do recognise. Let me finish. I do recognise that Islam has contributed good things. Mathematics, for instance. Right. Muslims contributed a lot to the development of mathematics. Absolutely, and that contributes to everybody in the same way that Christians developed empirical science, and that has
like Andalusia
development.
Was education centre where all of the Christians would come and study.
Can I reply to that?
So the contribution was definitely there from the Islamic world. I fully agree with you. The Gulf states are relying on the petrodollar. We know that. There's no need to go into. Everyone would agree on that. Take that away from them, and 99% of their economic power is gone. That's why they're trying to come away from it right now. Yeah, but they are actually going against their own principles. When you look at what they do with their money.
Yep.
They squander. They don't use this. This is a really big misconception. All these guys in the Gulf states, they're not Islamic. I would never say, look at the example of them to say that's what an Islamic country should be like. We Muslims generally say that there is very few, if any, Islamic countries.
Can I reply?
Please.
Okay. So firstly, I agree with you. There isn't a single Islamic country anywhere in the world.
Agreed.
Because Islam relies on a caliphate. There is no caliphate, and so Islam has failed. The supreme system has collapsed, and it was beaten by who? A bunch of Christians from Northern Europe and nationalists from Northern Europe who conquered the entire Islamic world, chopped up the caliphate like it was a cake and ate it for ourselves. So the great system established by Muhammad failed. Empirically, observably failed. No, I did, sir. I did not interrupt you. So please don't interrupt me. Now, you're absolutely right. Muslim countries, Muslim leaders have failed to look after their own people. Why? Not just because Islam has failed to inspire them to do so, but because zakat itself doesn't redistribute enough wealth amongst Muslims for them to do so. No, I'm going to finish, sir. I'll debate you in a second. Right? But my point is, right, and I want to be clear because this is where you entered the conversation. I'm not trying to suggest that Muslims never did anything good, right? I fully accept that there has been good Muslims, and Muslims have contributed good things to civilization and to learning, you know? But you quoted Andalusia as an example. Andalusia is not the example to quote in this debate, because Andalusia was a country whose economy was built on slavery. When having reintroduced slavery to a peninsula where slavery had been banned, Andalusia was a country that spent 700 years trying to conquer its neighbours. It was a country that Christians used to regularly flee from. It was a country where Christians were treated as second-class citizens, where Jews were treated as second-class citizens.
Even though Jews love to be there.
No, they didn't.
Found it as a safe haven.
No, they didn't. They didn't. Okay,
can I refer to your earlier point? This is a more generalized point.
Wait. You've interrupted me. Right. I was still finishing.
I wanted to go to an earlier point.
Wait, remember the points, right? Now that, like, I'm remembering your points. So Andalusia is the worst example to use. Christians had to liberate Andalusia from 7 centuries of Islamic occupation from an unprovoked invasion by Muslims. So that is not the example to use in this debate.
I don't think you should use that example either, because we know what the Crusaders did and what they were about. So let's leave that one point.
Crusades, okay, we'll come back to that.
Further back. So you said that the Islam was conquered and it was split up and eaten like a piece of cake, yeah, by the Christian Crusaders. Can I just ask a question here? If you look at religious people, we're not talking people that identify as Christian. If you look at religious people, the most dominant religion in the world is Islam. Just one example. If you took around, I've never done this and I haven't seen a study on it, tell me if you have. If you counted every single person that goes to a mosque on a Friday and you compared it to every single Christian that goes to church on a Sunday, Muslims would far outnumber the Christians. Am I wrong? You can respond to that.
Okay, so you are wrong, and the reason why you know you're wrong is because...
I don't know I'm wrong.
I'm going to give you the evidence, right? So there is a group of scholars who study religion called Pew Research, right? Pew Research studies religiosity around the world. They're a collective of academics, from any university can join Pew Research. So anyone who's interested in the study of religion can join Pew Research, okay? Christianity, according to their research, is still the world's biggest religion. Wait, let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. I'm responding because you invited me to. Christianity is still the world's biggest religion. It's still a growing religion, despite the fact that its own research shows that there's massive apostasy in the West. Massive. But it's still a growing religion. Now you've interrupted me again. Please don't do it a third time. No. You asked me, right, now I'm going to interrupt you when I want and you'll complain when I do. I'm going to interrupt you when I want and you're going to complain about it. You asked me the question, 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 when you look at world religions, Muslims are the most dominant religion. If you counted up all Muslims that go to all the mosques, there would be more than all the Christians that go to all the churches. Well, present your evidence, because I am presenting evidence. I'm presenting the research of a global academic community called Pew Research, whose papers are published in academic magazines, who conclude that Christianity is still the world's biggest religion, is still a growing religion, and these two are saying no. Well, now let them provide their evidence. Now let them provide their evidence.
So look, what I'm going to say is, if you just counted numbers of who identifies as a Christian and who identifies as a Muslim, I think Christianity would be bigger. But if you look at who actually practices the religion, it's incomparable. Just look at
evidence.
the UK.
Evidence.
Okay.
Evidence.
So I'll give you an evidence.
No, I want academic evidence.
I don't have academic evidence.
There you go. Yeah, I don't have. So what you have is a personal opinion.
I have an opinion which is.
There you go. Based on what?
It's an educated opinion.
An educated. What education?
Okay. Give me an example from your.
What education? What education?
What is the percentage of Christians that
what
go to church
education?
on Sunday from Christians?
What education?
If a Christian.
What education?
If Christians went to church on Sunday, all of them.
What education?
The whole of London will be gridlocked on a Sunday morning.
What education?
I'm free on a Sunday morning.
What
but
education?
You know when I can't get around on
what
a Friday
education?
afternoon. I'm always stuck in traffic.
What
on a Friday
education?
Afternoon.
What education?
I can't find any parking on a Friday
What
afternoon.
education?
There's a reason for that.
What education? What education? Okay, so now let me reply to your point.
There's a reason for that. I'm not comparing who identifies as a Christian.
Right. So basically, you're making an argument from personal experience. That's fine. So let me reply to that with some actual evidence. Actual evidence to explain your personal experience. One. Right? Now notice you don't like being interrupted, so maybe if you don't interrupt me, now I won't interrupt you in your next turn. So you're making an argument from personal experience.
No.
That personal experience has forgotten to actually look at the stats. The reason why you're not clogged up every Sunday is because there are more churches than mosques, and Christians go to lots more different churches than they do to mosques. If you had the same number of mosques as you had of churches in terms of buildings, you would find similar experiences around the churches. The second reason why you're making your personal experience argument is because Muslims tend to congregate into the same areas. They tend to move into the same areas. And so on a Friday when you go to mosque, because there are fewer mosques and there are more Muslims per capita in a set geography, it kind of has an impact on the local infrastructure. If Christians did the same and had the same number of churches and all moved into the same number of areas, I guarantee, ladies and gentlemen, you would have the same experience on a There And he's still wrong. He's still wrong because there are examples, I know from my personal experience, there are examples where Christians do have that impact when they go onto church. They take up all the parking spaces, they block up all the roads. So the reality is, personal experience is a form of evidence, but it isn't conclusive evidence. Now, he talked about statistics. Let's quote some. The National Office of Statistics,
which tells loads of rubbish statistics
tells us that less than over 40%, but less than 50%, over 40%, but less than 50%, of people identify as Christians. Christians' own stats show us that 10% of the population go to church on a Sunday. 10%. Muslims equal 4%. I guarantee not 4% of Muslims are going to mosque.
Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the percentage of Muslims that give zakat, it's less than 100%. Less than 100%. Christians who give to charity equal a higher percentage per capita of the Christian population than Muslims who give to zakat of the Muslim population.
That's because zakat is lower. And if,
No, why is that low? Why? Yeah, I'm talking about the Muslim UK population and the Christian British population.
Yeah, but if you took,
so why is it lower?
Why
is it not 100%? Why is it not 100%? Why is it not 100%? Why is it not 100%? Why is it not 100%? Not as why are you making excuses? Why are you making excuses? Why are you making excuses?
If I went back and I left you for
why are you making excuses? The practice of zakat, the practice of zakat, the practice of zakat. Are you able to demonstrate with any evidence at all about what is the percentage of Muslims that go to mosque? What's your paper?
Okay.
What's your stat?
What paper do you think
what is your stat? What is your
You're
stat?
talking about box ticking.
Right, you asked me about which paper. Churches count the number of people that go to church every Sunday.
If you went round here,
the Church of England keeps its own stats. Churches count how many people go to church.
You asked everyone here.
Yeah, now you don't like being interrupted. I can tell it irritates you.
I'm not being irritated. I'm just trying to speak over you because you keep talking.
Oh, but that's what you were doing when I were talking, and suddenly you complain about it.
I'll give you a fair test.
Right? No, so what is your stat about the percentage of Muslims that go to mosque? Can you answer that question?
I would say.
Can you answer that question? Can you, based on what? You're just making up a number. You're just making up a number. You're just making up a number.
Family, work.
That is not evidence. That is just an ad hoc statement. You haven't got any evidence to back that up. What are your stats? What are your stats? What are your stats? What are your stats? What are your stats?
But mosques don't count.
Sorry, guys.
What are your stats?
Mosques don't count.
Okay.
If mosques don't count it, then what are we debating here?
So, what's this? Pew Research. Okay, the percentage of the overall Muslim population. Okay, right then.
What is it?
So it's looking at the Muslim countries around the world.
Right.
It doesn't have a stat for the UK. That's what we're talking about.
Well, just say the worldwide stat. What
No, I don't see it.
Right.
Is that
You've got
against
some
your
really
rhetoric?
Islamic countries we're at. And maybe I'm not.
Yeah, we're talking about the UK.
I was on a bike ride. I just wanted to have a conversation. I have no preparation.
No. You came in interrupting.
No, because I didn't like some of the stuff you said. That's
Right,
what it
but
was.
the point is, you can't now try to present yourself as, oh, I just wanted to have a conversation.
I was genuinely on a bike ride.
When you interrupt him, if you want to have a
Do you want
conversation,
evidence of my bike ride?
no, I can see the bike.
Oh, yeah,
I can see the bike, and I can see the helmet. No one's denying that you're having a bike ride.
I have to have evidence for everything.
But my point is, bro, if you're going to make an argument, right, you got to back it up with some evidence, okay?
But I don't have it to hand.
Exactly.
To hand.
You don't have any evidence.
But the truth is,
I bet you
mosques
go
don't
away
count.
and find some evidence.
Mosques don't count numbers, you know that. I've never been in a mosque, I've been in hundreds, that ever counted how many people came in. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because they're secure about how many people come. Maybe the churches need to justify why they're around and they need to count numbers to show membership.
I mean, that's your spin.
That's a personal opinion.
Yeah, that's a spin.
That is personal opinion.
Everything you've said is just pure opinion.
Personal opinion and
Pure opinion.
some educated opinion.
Educated on what?
If you went
For
right
it, do you
here-
actually know what an educated opinion is?
Yeah, you need to have some
Right?
understanding of what you're
Out
saying.
of the two of us, one second. Out of the two of us, who has a qualification in religious studies?
Yeah.
What is religious
Yeah, but
studies?
you also
What
asked
is religious
which
studies?
countries do
What
more
is religious
financially, and I
studies?
said Malaysia, and
What
you
is
ignored
religious studies? What is religious studies? Religious studies is studying how people relate to their gods. It's studying how people behave in a religion.
But
The
you know,
reality
it's
is,
the name, Bob.
the only one qualified to talk on this
name, Bob.
topic, the only one out of the two of us that has any educated opinion on this topic is me.
Bob,
You
look,
don't
look,
have an educated
usually-
opinion.
usually when people
You
throw
just
their
have
qualifications,
sound bites.
they're trying to
You just
justify
have
something.
sound bites.
Stop it, please.
All you've got is sound bites. Just sound
You know,
bites.
I know
That's
you're
all you've
well,
got.
I know you're well
That's
versed in
all.
Christianity. I'm sure I've seen you on videos. I know you have an understanding of what you hear quite a lot. You've done it for years. I've never spoken in public about religion. Genuinely, never.
Yeah.
but I'm just making a point because some of the things you were
But
saying...
your point is invalid.
And I actually, what you did is you told
But
me
your
that...
point is invalid.
You told me that I got the wrong end of the stick.
But your
When I
point
came
is
here,
invalid.
I thought you were saying the Muslims haven't contributed anything.
No, I would never say that.
And you said, no, I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
mean
that's
so
not true.
that was the main reason why I wanted to speak to you. And the second thing I took, how shall I put it, I took an opposition to is when you said that the Muslims have been cut up by the Christianities, eaten like a piece of pie, whatever, and almost trying to say that Muhammad Sallallahu all of his teachings failed. That's not true.
Wait,
Islam
did
is
Muhammad
the
establish a caliphate?
Okay, look.
No, answer that
don't have a
question.
caliphate.
No,
we
did
don't.
Muhammad establish a caliphate?
Okay, we don't have a caliphate.
Why are you avoiding the question?
Because
did Muhammad establish a
I know
caliphate?
what the Prophet wanted. We're
Did Muhammad establish a caliphate?
Of course he did.
Right, and did his companions succeed in that caliphate?
Absolutely.
And was there a caliphate for hundreds of years?
Hundreds of years.
Was there a caliphate for thousands of years?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So at what point do you say the caliphate failed?
As soon as the caliphate was abolished.
Yeah, when was that?
I don't know the year, but
Okay.
I would estimate 500 years.
Do you right. Okay, so we're having an historical conversation now. So let's just do basic history. We start with the premise that Muhammad establishes a caliphate. We start with the premise that his companions continue that caliphate. And we start with the premise at some point in history that caliphate was abolished.
Yeah.
Right, quick question, just to make sure I don't
know the year, if you
Okay,
can ask me.
do you consider the Ottomans to be an Islamic caliphate?
I can't be 100% sure. Because
That's
some
fine.
say yes, some say no.
Okay, fine.
But they did call it a caliphate.
So whenever it was, okay, so we're going to just speak generically. Whenever it was, the caliphate died,
Yep.
and that means that the Islamic system established by Muhammad died. It failed.
The caliphate died.
But the
however you
church
see it.
that was founded by Jesus Christ was founded 2,000 years
Be
ago,
realistic here.
and it still exists today,
But you
unbroken.
don't have that control.
Unbroken.
You've
It is
never
still
had that
there.
control.
You don't know history, bro.
No. Okay, now.
What's the Byzantine Empire? What's the Byzantine Empire?
No, I'm not saying historically, I'm saying now.
What's the Holy Roman
Because
Empire?
You're trying to say that Muslims don't have that control. I know we don't. There's no Islamic country in the world. I agree.
Why do you measure it in control?
Christianity.
Why
is
do you
so
measure it in
diluted.
control? No,
It's
one
been
second.
So diluted
No, you don't understand your own argument.
No. But
You
what I'm saying
don't.
is-
You don't understand your own argument. Sorry.
That's like saying when the Reformation happened, Christianity fell apart, and it didn't.
No, I never claimed that. I never claimed that. I've never claimed that. You claim that. I've not made that claim. You're attacking a straw man.
No, but what the point is making that you're making, maybe you're doing it without realizing, is the caliphate had complete control over the people.
I never
Meaning
said that.
You had to pay
No,
zakat or
I never
jizya.
said that.
You know that.
That was not my
I'll let
argument.
you say it.
No, let
But
me
the
restate what my
Christianity,
argument is again.
Firstly, has never, maybe had that at one stage.
What is
in
my
one
argument?
empire,
What is my argument?
Right now,
No.
you have less
No.
influence in a Christian
That's got nothing
country-
to do with my
in
argument.
a Christian country, the rulers
That has
have
nothing
less
to do with my
influence
argument.
as per religion than the Muslim alleged.
That has nothing to do with my argument.
So-called Muslim countries have more power over
But
their
that has
people
nothing to
than
do
the
with my
Christian
argument.
countries do.
Right, so my argument actually was that Muhammad establishes a caliphate
abolished, and
and
that's why it is a
Jesus
failure.
establishes a church.
No.
Yes, he does.
A
Yes,
church
he
compared
does.
to a caliphate,
Yes,
you can't compare
yes,
that.
yes, you can.
You cannot.
Yes, you can.
Caliphate has to
Yes,
have
you can.
everyone bought into
Because
it. A
the
church is just a
caliphate
church.
died. The caliphates died, and Sharia law died with it.
No,
it
no.
never succeeded at any point in history.
can't
Never
say
succeeded.
that.
Your
At
only
any point.
measure.
So even
Your
in-
only measure.
even in Mecca.
Your only measure is the idea that it dominates. Where Christianity has a better measurement by which you
Which is
can
what?
judge
Dilution.
it. The production of saints, the production of holy
but
people,
how many of the
holy
saints
people
disagree?
who build their lives on doing good and build
Every
their
single one.
lives on
Oh, you're
virtue.
Christian. She's
Who
Christian
build
and she disagrees with you.
She says she's Christian. I don't know if she's Christian.
Wow.
There's lots of people
Why are
that
you
say that they're
assuming she's
Christian.
not?
Bro,
She
we've got
ticked the box of
Muslims.
Christianity.
We've got
She
Muslims.
ticks the
So
Christianity
what?
box. She's part
So
of,
what?
She's part of that
So
big
what?
number that you speak
So
about.
what, bro? There are lots of Muslims that tick the box and then go to the nightclubs
Yeah, of
and
course
then
there
go
are.
to the casinos.
100%.
So what does it mean to
100%.
tick a box? It
No, but
doesn't
I'm saying
matter.
she's Christian
But
and
you're
she
not
disagrees.
engaging in an argument now. All you're doing is pandering
No,
to the
you're
crowd.
comparing-
All
you're
you're doing
comparing a
is
church to a
interrupting.
caliphate.
Yes,
That's
I
what-
am.
that's
And
what-
do you
that's
know
what I'm saying,
why?
it's not fair.
Because the church it is a fair
It's not
comparison.
fair.
It is a fair
A church is just a
comparison.
church.
It
A
is
caliphate
why?
is a
Why? I'll tell you why.
system.
What is a church? Do you know what a church is?
A building.
No! There you go, you don't even know the basics.
I know what you're gonna say.
You don't
But to
even
me,
know
it's a
the
building.
basics.
To me, it's a building.
Well, you're ignorant then, because no Christian would
You're
say that the
ignorant if
church
you
is
think
the
you can
building.
compare a caliphate to a
No,
church.
and here's
You
why.
cannot compare.
You're saying that
A
it's an
caliphate
invalid
is a system.
comparison. The
Christianity never
caliphate
came as a
was
system.
established
It
by
never came
Muhammad.
as a way of
The
life.
church was founded by Jesus Christ.
If I went to
The
every
caliphate
Christian
died.
and asked them, "What's your
The
way of
church
life?"
is still here.
Everyone is
The
different.
caliphate's purpose was
You go
to
to a
dominate and to dominate its neighbors and to establish Sharia law. It failed in that purpose. The purpose of the church
Well, Jesus
is
will come
to
back to
produce
reinstate
saints unto God, and the church is still producing saints unto God 2,000 years
Bob.
after Christ
Don't try to
founded
use
it,
your
and
saints
so the
as a measure of
comparison
success.
is valid.
The saints are a
What
measure
is
of your
the measure
failure.
of Christian success?
Saints is a measure
What
of
is
your
the measure
failure.
of Christian success?
Saints-
Who gets to
in-
define the terms of
in
success?
Islam,
Who gets to define the terms of
if we have
success?
saints,
Who
we see
gets
that
to
as a
define
failure.
the terms of success?
Saints are seen as a
Wow.
failure in Islam.
If he
If
has
someone goes
holy
down
people
and
in
says,
Islam,
"I'm a saint,
it's
I'm
a
a saint,
failure.
I'm a
He
saint."
actually thinks,
Absolutely not.
he actually thinks, he actually thinks, are you a Muslim? There you go, he's a Muslim, and he's
are you Sufi and
contradicting
Shia?
you. He's contradicting
Okay,
you.
you deal with the Christian, I'll
Yeah,
deal with the Muslim.
yeah, exactly.
with the
Oh,
Christian,
it's suddenly your logic has totally reversed. Now the Muslim's
Deal
contradicting
with the
you.
Christian.
Suddenly he's not really a Muslim. But when this lady identified a Christian, we had to assume that therefore she was making a valid point. Right.
Look, 1 second.
Right. You've just said. Right. Let's. Can we?
He was saying
What's
the
your name,
measure
bro?
of his success.
What is,
How
brother?
well the saints have done.
Brother,
Okay.
what's your name?
It's Oz.
Oz. Let's
What's
have
your
a.
name? Is it Bob?
Bob, you know that very well.
I thought it
and
was
it doesn't
Bob.
matter how many times you ask me, I'm still going to say Bob.
No, but you didn't agree to
right?
that. I said, "Are you
Right.
Bob?" And you went, you
Yeah.
carried on.
Right, so let's go back to having a conversation, please.
Okay, please.
Right, and if you want, we can time it where you speak for 3 minutes, then please let's have a
Do that with
conversation.
Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa. I'm not
Yeah,
that
all
good.
right. So let's have a conversation, okay? I'm going to make a point, and let's stick to one point each. So I make a point, you respond to my point, then you make
right,
a point,
let's
and
stay on
I
topic.
respond to your point, then I make a point, and you respond to my point, and you make like that, okay? Let's do it like that. So we're each making 2 points.
Okay, go on.
Okay? Right. So the first thing is we've got to decide what are the terms of success. Now, in religious studies, it would be wrong to take categories that are normative to Christianity and impose them on Islam. Islam should define its own categories of success. In the same way, Christianity should define its own categories of success. I am making the argument to you, so that was my first point, right? I am making the argument to you that by the categories of success in Islam and the categories of success in Christianity, the Islam that was established by Muhammad has failed, but the church established by Jesus Christ continues to succeed because the categories of success in Christianity is the production of saints, and the category of Islam is the idea that Islam should establish, that Islam is the establishment of Sharia law, which includes the idea of the caliphate. That's my argument. Please respond.
Okay, Bob, you're being a bit unfair here. You're trying to compare if a caliphate survived compared to if a church is still around. Now let's look at that point. How is the church, or whatever church you believe that Jesus formed, compared to what that was then, to what we have now? If Jesus was here, he wouldn't recognize the Christians. He would not recognize them because they've come so far away from his teachings, number one. Number two, the caliphate is one system that Islam prevail over all. Of course they do. But the followers, let's compare followers to followers. That's how this began. Let's look at how many people actually follow Islam, and let's look at how many people actually follow Christianity. And even that in itself, I've made the point, but I'm going to contradict myself and say, how do you follow Christianity when you've got 6 million different ways to follow it? Whereas Islam, yes, there's different ways, definitely, but they would all believe in the last prophet, or pretty much the last prophet, minus some people that we don't consider Muslims, but the last prophet and Allah being one. So if you compare who believes Allah is one and the Prophet ﷺ is the last prophet, you compare that to who believes Jesus' actual teachings, it's incomparable. You've diluted, changed, twisted, and made 6 million different ways to follow Christianity. And then you're going to compare those followers to Islamic followers.
Can I reply?
It's incomparable.
Right. Firstly, you've made a statement that Christ would look at this church and he wouldn't recognize it. You've got to evidence that. You have also dealt in just generalizations, broad sweeping statements where you've said Christians have diluted their faith. And what that relies on is this idea that you have some kind of overview of the entire Christian population by which you can make that statement. Generalizations don't work in arguments. There's plenty of examples of faithful Christians, faithful congregations, faithful denominations. You've also made a Muslim stereotype of Christian, another Muslim stereotype of Christians, which is that Christians are divided into 6 million different branches that all do it differently. As a religious studies student with an academic qualification who majored in Christianity and Islam, I am telling you as a fact that all Christians agree upon the core tenets of the Christian faith. Why? Because Christianity is a creedal faith, which means you cannot be a Christian unless you agree to the creed. So in other words, if you don't agree to the creed, you can't be a Christian. So by definition, because of its creedal nature, all Christians agree on the essential core doctrines. And one example to that, please don't interrupt, I didn't interrupt you. One example to that is that it is creedal to believe in the Trinity. So in other words, if you don't believe in the Trinity, you aren't a Christian. Next, you said that Muslims all agree. Now, the reality, one second, let me finish. The argument that I made was that Sharia law is something that establishes a caliphate. And the caliphate, the purpose of the caliphate is to establish Sharia law. So if the caliphates collapse, Sharia law failed. And if Sharia law failed, the caliphates fail. And the caliphates fail where Sharia law fails. Islam requires a caliphate to be Islam. If Muhammad came back today, he would look at the Muslims and say that you have failed because he established something and Muslims have lost the thing that he established. But Jesus Christ established a church and said to that church, be holy as your Father in heaven is holy. So the purpose of the church is to produce saints. That is the measure that Christians look at the church to see if it is successful. It's not about dominance, it's not about oppressing others, it's not about establishing a certain legal code, it's about creating saints. And for 2,000 years, without interruption, that is exactly what the church has done, unfailingly, in all conditions, in all circumstances, in all cultures, in all societies, in all civilizations, in all languages, in all places on earth. But Sharia law, which was brought by Muhammad to establish a caliphate, whose role it was to uphold Sharia law, is dead. And so Islam, by Muslim standards, has objectively failed.
Okay, can I speak now?
Yeah.
We're still going in circles about this point. You keep trying to equate success to having a caliphate. It doesn't. That's not Islam. Islam is how many people will get to Jannah, how many people will get to paradise, how many people are going to follow the actual teachings. That's our success. Because there will be many people that never lived under a caliphate and died before there was one ever established. What's that? Then they can't go to paradise. They can't be successful.
That was a straw man argument. I never said that.
I know you never said it, but what I'm saying is, then it defies your point of using caliphate as a success. Because there are millions, if not billions, of people that haven't lived under one that will be successful according to their own, as in their own beliefs, and getting to paradise.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. The other thing is, if your measure of success is saints, firstly, what are those saints promoting? Again, you're going to call me generalized and sweeping, but I speak to Christians just as friends, and they will have different opinions on everything. So their saints are obviously promoting different things as well. So how do you see that as a measure of success when they're all promoting different bits? And then you'll make a wider point about Jesus wouldn't have looked down upon the way Christianity is now, but you know what I'm going to say to that? Jesus was never a Christian. He was never the Son of God. He was never part of the Trinity. He was a prophet. You know I'm going to say that. So he would come here and look at all Christians like, what are you doing? Then you said about the Prophet ﷺ, which is correct. He would probably have a similar thing to say, hold on Muslims, I told you to do A and B and you're not doing it. Not specifically about the Caliphate, but more about everything we're supposed to do. Look, I do have to run. I know you're going to hate me for this, but the last point I wanted to make was on the way of life. Islam is a way of life. Christianity is never that. Christianity is just some guidelines. It's just be good to your neighbor. It's turn the cheek and other teachings. I'm not mocking it in one bit at all. I wouldn't do that. But you are a guideline. Islam is a detailed way of life.
Can I reply? Very
You
quickly,
will.
before you go.
Yeah, but look, the point I'm making is Christianity isn't a way of life. Even though you're going to say they're devout Christian, blah, blah, and they are, but look at the code of conduct of different Christians. Look at the Roman Catholics who won't marry. Look at the such and such, happy to be gay and be a priest, whatever. The differences are vast, and they're religious people. We're not talking about their followers.
Can I reply?
Way of life, Islam, Christianity is not.
Okay, so let me reply, because all you've done is repeat generalized sweeping statements based on based on Islamic stereotypes of Christians that are popular amongst Muslims, but have actually no bearing on actual facts. The reality is Christianity isn't just a way of life, it's a way of being human. It is a way of ontology. One of the ways that Christianity expresses itself is ontologically. So it's a way of being. So if it's a way of being, it is a way of life. It's not my fault that you're ignorant of Christianity and just want to use Islamic tropes. Secondly, Muslims themselves disagree about every aspect of fiqh. They're like, doesn't matter what the question is, Muslims can't agree about what to do in this situation or that situation. Right. Should we chuck gays off a building? Should we burn them alive? How should we kill apostates? Should we kill them straight away, or should we kill them after 3 attempts to reconvert them to Islam? Right? What should we do when it comes to divorce? Is it just saying I divorced thee like that and they're divorced? Or must there be a pause in between those statements of divorce?
And this is true.
Muslims can't agree on abortion. Abortion is a matter of life and death. There are some Muslims that say abortion after 90 days is evil.
Absolutely.
Some 40, some 20.
You're 100%
but that
right.
means that those that are saying abortion after 20 is wrong are saying that those that do it at 90 are committing murder. And this is a matter of hack. This is a matter of what is right and wrong. Now notice he's interrupting despite the fact that I listened to him. So his argument is based on a straw man. It's based on I'm going to look at all these bad Christians. I'm going to look at all these bad Christians. I'm going to compare the bad Christians to good Muslims, and I'm going to say that that represents Christianity. Let's look, and he didn't provide any proof of his claim. He didn't provide any proof of his claim. So let's look at religious Muslims like ISIS and Boko Haram. And now notice, suddenly his brain switches on. Suddenly, now he understands what it feels like to be on the receiving end of his own argument. So when he compares bad Christians to good Muslims, he thinks that's a good argument. But if I compare bad Muslims to good Christians, suddenly he recognizes that that's not the way to marshal an argument. You're going now, aren't you? Yeah, you go. All right. Yeah, look after yourself. It was really nice talking with you. Come and talk to me again. Have you got a Bible, bro?
I have one online, yeah.
You don't have one then?
Not physical.
Let me give you one.
I don't keep physical books, and I can't carry it right now, look.
Yeah, you're right.
I will see you again.
I've got something to fit in your pocket.
No, please.
Go on, bro. I want to give you a gift.
Because I don't think I'll honour it enough by reading it and stuff.
That is your loss. That is your loss. I will. I'll give you a little section. I'll give you a little section then.
I'll take that.
All right.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
What? Well, of course he condemns ISIS.
I don't even think they're Muslim. What the hell? Condemn.
You don't know what your son is.
There you go. There's a section. You can get that in your pocket.
I'll get that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your bike ride. Lovely talking to you. God bless. Take care. All right.